let's go ahead and move on to a topic that I think all Bears fans have pondered for the past 35 years.
Almost 40.
Yeah, almost
40 years now, which is scary.
Almost 40 years. What needs to happen for the Chicago Bears to reach the Super Bowl? And before we get into this, Reese, you and I have talked extensively just about how really this year, it's going to be a really weird year if we end up even playing a Super Bowl or if we play a Super Bowl on time, because teams are going to be impacted by COVID-19 in one way or another. How the NFL is played is impacted already. There's not going to be fans in the stadium, so that's going to be really interesting, really weird. And it's pretty much, I think whoever wins the Super Bowl this year is going to be a weird team. I don't think it's going to be a standard team that we think. I don't think it's going to be, the 49ers or the Baltimore Ravens, teams that were good last year. I think it's going to be kind of an odd team. And, I've mentioned in the past that I don't think it's out of the question for the Chicago Bears to win the Super Bowl in 2020. Because it's just the situation we're in is just such an oddity that really I can't even say the Browns won't win or the Bengals won't win it.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy for sure. I think for the Bears to win, this upcoming Super Bowl, I think that honestly, the boring side of it is the defense needs to keep doing what they're doing. I think even last year in 2019, I think the Bears defense played phenomenal and played more than well enough to, at least be a defense, a unit that could, be on a Super Bowl team. So I think that a lot of it falls on, probably getting some good special teams plays here and there, a little bit of explosion. Some of those, ultimately, sometimes special teams can be like that difference in tight games where you're just kind of going back and forth, some of those, gritty games where you're playing and jockeying for field position back and forth. So a couple explosive plays on special teams, and then also striking some balance on the offensive side of the ball, incorporating some more of those plays that set up play action. So running the football and being dedicated to running the football. No more, last year what we saw with Nagy where, we go games where it just seemed like he would not want to run the football at all, even if the passing game was not going at all. And then, if we are able to run the ball more effectively, it helps set up play action. I think even incorporating a little bit more RPO on the offensive side of the ball is really just going to free up a lot more space and allow the Bears to get the ball in the hands of, their most dangerous players. I think that that's something big. I think the Bears need to go out there and start probably hitting some more home run plays. And I think that they can try to do it the Patriots way and, like you said, death by 1,000 paper cuts. But I think they also need to, have that threat and ability to, if they need to, be able to make those big chunk plays and score quickly in like a 2-minute drill.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, those are all extremely valid points. The list that I had, I'm going to read it off in full, is that the run game needs to dominate. You talked extensively about that and what you just said, Reese, is David Montgomery needs to be better. Nagy needs to be better. The offensive line needs to be better as a whole, and the run game needs to be dominant. I think we've seen the reemergence of the run game, as we've talked about extensively in this podcast, and just how important the run game actually is cannot be underemphasized in Matt Nagy's offense. The next one I had is the offensive line needs to become a top 10 unit again. Jermaine Ifedi, you better be playing damn well. You better be playing damn well, because if you're not, we're not going to the Super Bowl. And I'm sorry to inform all Bears fans, but we are a little bit limited by that if he does not play well. And then finally, I said Nick Foles or Trubisky. I'm not going to throw Trubisky out of the conversation yet. I've had a smidge bit of hope reemerge for him. They need to throw at least 30 touchdowns. Whoever is the starting quarterback, they need to throw 30 touchdowns. And I'm going to say at most 10 interceptions.
Yeah, I think that, of course, most of the improvement needs to happen on the offensive side of the ball. I think that, getting better production on the passing game, too, is also crucial. They need to strike a better balance, and they need to be dedicated and become dominant running the football and make defenses fear that, so they're not just stacking the box, which was a huge issue last year. But also, the ability to throw the ball over the top. I feel like Trubisky became so predictable last year. It seemed like we were always throwing the ball was either within like 5 to 10 yards. We never even saw any passes that really went for 15 yards, and rarely anything for 25 plus. So they really need to start to stretch the field. I think in general the Bears need to utilize the width and length of the field a little bit better.
Yeah, it
One
needs to be more
strange thing I've
spread.
noticed about Nagy's offense, yeah, I think that one strange thing I've noticed about Nagy's offense over his first couple of years is just that sometimes we're running plays to the short side of the field, which, I guess, it keeps the defense on edge, but I think that at the same time we need to utilize the space a little bit better. Like you said, spreading the field out. It's just something in modern football that makes sense, makes defense have to cover more of the field. And if they are dropping into zone, it creates more holes in zone. If you're playing man-to-man, it gives, if Trubisky wants to scramble, and you're spreading the field out a little bit more, he has even more avenues to run through. So I think that just incorporating and tweaking this offense and opening it up a little bit is going to be absolutely crucial in, generating some good offensive production, scoring some points, and staying on the field for a little bit. Way too many 3-and-outs last year.
Yeah, unfortunately, way too many 3-and-outs. That seems to be the story of Matt Nagy and Mitchell Trubisky in 2019. We need to see definitely a lot of change offensively. And I think at the end of the day, what can really sum it up is just we need to see Matt Nagy become a more competent and confident play caller, because it didn't seem like he was either in 2019. And I think that this year is going to be really indicting, or, it may glamorize Matt Nagy as well, because we're really going to find out if Mitch Trubisky was the full cause of all the offensive ineptitude in 2019 or what the core issue was. It's difficult to discern why Matt Nagy made some of the play calling choices he was making in 2019, but I think that this year we will really see if Nick Foles can change that. Now, Matt Nagy looked like a hell of a better play caller when he was play calling with Chase Daniel, a quarterback he knew. So maybe it was Mitchell Trubisky. Maybe he just didn't have the faith he felt he needed to in his quarterback. But it's Nick Foles. Now Nick Foles is with the Bears. We have another quarterback, and we have a quarterback that Matt Nagy was able to pick out himself. So this year is really going to be telling on that. But hopefully, in a perfect world, either Trubisky will improve mightily or Nick Foles will take over the reign, and we can finally see Matt Nagy confidently play calling the Bears and have an accurate evaluation on him.
Yeah, in a way, it just seemed like, in 2018 that, Nagy didn't struggle enough. There wasn't enough adversity that he went through. And when the offense was sputtering, the defense was almost always there to save the day and win the games for him by, pick sixes, fumble recoveries for touchdowns, giving them amazing field position. And then last year in 2019, when, things weren't really quite going their way, it just seemed like Nagy didn't really quite know how to get things back on track. And things always just kind of seemed to sputter out. And it just kind of seemed like dominoes were falling, and he couldn't really stop the negative momentum. So I think that, him getting that back on track, whether or not it's Foles or Trubisky, right? I mean, that's still a question mark. So we basically just have to stick to that narrative. If it's Foles or Trubisky, it just needs to be, better, more thorough, more confident play calling. I think confidence is a huge issue, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because if you're not confident in your play calling, then it just kind of transcends to the offense, right? Then they're kind of not really playing with that kind of, vigor that you need to go out there and execute with. So I think that plays a huge part of it.
Absolutely. And ultimately, I'm excited to see, well, I'm hoping we see the Bears first, but if we do, I'm excited to see how this Matt Nagy offense looks in 2020. I think we've done a lot in the offseason to, address some of our concerns. We made some personnel changes. We finally have high quality tight ends on the roster, and Matt Nagy has a lot less, excuses to be made. And that's just what it is at the end of the day. And, I'm confident that as a Bears fan, if it's Matt Nagy, if it's Nick Foles, I don't know. But going into next season, we're going to be better. We're going to be better in 2021. And it seems like it's the motto of the Bears, be better the year after the current year. But ultimately, I'm excited to see what comes about it. But any final comments, Reese?
No, I think you summed it up pretty well. I think that, as Bears fans, we're always optimistic about the year coming up. I think it's just the spirit of, this time of year, honestly, I think around training camp time, the Bears hype really starts to build. And honestly, even though baseball is usually being played at this time, and, we're a huge baseball city, we love the Cubs, and there's a lot of Sox fans out there, you know, once the Bears start practicing, once training camp hits, it's the Bears, time to shine. It's definitely a Bears city, and, everyone tries to get excited and pumped up about the year ahead. So, of course, that's the motto, but, it's something that we can try to carry forward and look forward to. I mean, it's never fun to, be all down and out on the team. You want to think that they're going to go out there and prove you right and, make you happy as a fan and proud to be a fan. So, let's stick with that. I want to try to stay optimistic about this Bears team and about this offense mostly.
Hey guys, like our video, subscribe, and check out our bi-weekly podcast on Apple Podcasts. Thanks.